Welcome to Module 2. Here we're going to learn exactly how your portfolio should look like in ways that are simple to understand and easy for us to really follow through. So let's talk about conceptually how your portfolio for retirement should go ahead and look like. So when you retire, you're going to have three main obstacles. Well, we all know that Social Security is not going to be enough when we retire, especially when we compare it to our expenses. As you notice, there's going to be an income gap here. The first challenge in your retirement is to fill this gap and then some. Have extra income coming through. That extra income is going to be thrown into your savings account. So whenever you have to fix the roof of your house, or you have to buy a new car, or you have a wedding to pay for, you know where that money is going to come from. So let me share with you a quick story about someone that came to my office for personal reasons and privacy. We're going to call her Kathy. So Kathy is a single mother. She has done very well for herself, great paying job, very good at saving, and she has saved a good amount of money, about 2.5 million in assets. Well, her daughter just graduated from college with her master's degree, and she wanted to treat her to a nice trip in Italy. And so when she was telling me all about this, hopefully, after COVID and all of this goes away, they had this beautiful trip planned out. So I was so excited to talk about Italy because my husband is from Italy and I love the Amalfi Coast. So I was telling her all about Ravello and Positano and places to go and where to eat, but she was not that excited. I asked her, okay, what's going on? And she said that she's feeling that she's getting that closer to running out of money, because that trip is going to cost around 20 to 30 grand. She didn't know how long it was going to take for her to recoup that investment or that expense. You see, specifically, she said, given the market conditions, she doesn't know how long it was going to take, because we all agree that the market looks like a heartbeat, right? So she didn't have an asset problem. After all, she has a 2.1 million in assets. What she had was an income problem, right? Because now she says there's no more money coming in the bank account. So how that's going to be built up? And that's why I said that we need income to come in and then some. Because once you have that extra bucket of money, you're going to throw it in the savings account. And so the next time you have a trip to go to, you know exactly where to pull the funds from. That's going to make, Kathy be able to enjoy her vacation a lot more, be more comfortable, and really enjoy the time with her daughter. The second challenge that we have to overcome is keeping up with inflation. I don't know about you, but I know that my grocery bill just went up twice as much in the past couple years. So that's inflation. But imagine what's going to be between 30 to 40 years from now. Yeah, that's definitely an obstacle that we have to overcome. Now, the third obstacle is making our money last. We know that for everyone who is facing retirement, that is the number one concern. And there's a moment when you're actually getting ready to retire, and then you unplug the alarm clock and you look at your bank accounts and you realize there's no more checks coming in. It's gonna hit you. I hear it all the time. At that moment, you're gonna be looking into your portfolio a lot closer than you have ever done before. Unless you win the lottery or you have a big inheritance, you are going to be really watching out for those dollar amounts. Specifically, if the market drops, right? I was telling you that it looks like a heartbeat. If you're already withdrawing from the accounts, you're going to be worried because you're going to be thinking, who's going to live longer, me or my money? So if you worry about running out of money, there's a different way to view it, because I want you to think of your portfolio on a different way, in a different light. Think of your money growing modestly, not hitting all the highs and lows of the market, but really growing modestly. That way, you're gonna feel more comfortable, especially if you're already withdrawing from the accounts. You'll be able to sleep better at night because you're gonna see how that continues to be replenished. I would like for you to think of your portfolio as a pyramid. That pyramid is gonna be composed of three segments. The bottom segment is actually the foundation. That foundation is called income. And if you think about a foundation, the purpose of a foundation is to give you stability, right? That's exactly what this income is going to be. The job of this income is to give you, again, funds, money, to help you fill this gap. And money that is going to be reliable, sustainable, dependable. Now, the second part of this pyramid is going to be funds for emergency. And we all know that we need some money set aside for a rainy day. Now, how much do I need in there? That's when I need you to go back, look at your expense worksheet, start adding up all your income, the money that is coming in, subtract it from all the expenses that you have, and that's going to give you a really good idea of your monthly expenses. Now, from that monthly expense, I want you to make sure that you have 6 to 8 months in a savings account for a rainy day. Now, if you own a business, I want to be more cautious and perhaps do it more like a 12-month into that account. Okay. Why? Because you're going to sleep better at night. The top of this pyramid is going to be the growth. And growth is going to have different kinds of jobs. Number one is going to help us with inflation, keeping up with that. Second of it, if we do our job well, someone is going to get some inheritance. Let me show you how people get into trouble. They forget about the bottom of the pyramid and they start pulling money out of the growth to pay for inflation, to pay for extra repairs in the home, to pay for medical expense. They deplete in these two accounts. And perhaps you can get away with that in a bull market. Bull market means when the market is going up, up, up and it's doing great. Yeah, because you're going to see that growth. But when the market is down on a bear market, you cannot get away with that. You're going to be selling more stocks, more bonds, more of your assets to be able to cover those expenses. And that's exactly how you get into trouble. Conceptually, does this make sense to you so far? It does to me. And this is exactly how you create a pre-retirement portfolio. So how do you build this? What kind of tools should we use? And how to put it all properly together? Well, probably you have a toolbox at home. I know I do, even though we're not very handy. And a couple weeks ago, I needed to put a piece of furniture together for my son's bedroom. So I went ahead and opened my toolbox and pulled out my Phillips screwdriver. And I go ahead, did whatever I needed to do, and it was perfect. However, looking back into my toolbox, I saw my hammer, my drill. Those are excellent tools, but they were not the right tools for this job that I was doing. It's exactly the same in finances. In finances, you're going to have different kinds of tools for different kinds of jobs. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. So we're going to look at the tools that are at our disposal in the financial world. And those tools, we're going to divide it in 3 segments. Tools that are designed for safety, tools that are designed for risk, and tools that I call hybrid. You're going to see how each one of these tools work. Let's start with the safety tools. I'm sure that if you look into your bank account, you have seen these in there. Those are CDs and money market accounts. We consider them safety because they are secured by the FDIC up to $250,000. Next, you have treasury bills, or the short name for them is T-bills. These actually notes with the government. You don't really worry much about getting your money back from Uncle Sam, but you don't really make a whole lot of money with them either. Lastly, you have fixed annuities. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one because a lot of people hear the word annuity and they don't know what this is or they feel a little scared about it. So fixed annuities were actually created by insurance companies. And when it comes to fixed annuities, I'll give you a good example. When you have a pension and you're actually retired and you start collecting the money from the pension, they convert that pension into an immediate annuity. That means that you're going to start withdrawing from that and that annuity day one. So annuities were created by the insurance companies. They actually secure as well. because it's a different entity, but they also secure them for up to $250,000 on the fixed side. Now let's talk about the risk side of the tools. And when we think about risk, I'm sure the stock market comes to mind. And you guessed it, stocks are right here on this list. Something that is not so obvious is that bonds are also going to be on this side of the equation. And you might wonder, wait, Andrea, why are you putting bonds over here? Well, bonds used to be the place for us to put our money for more safety. And that was great from Jimmy Carter up to 3-4 years ago when interest rate collapsed. You see, bonds work the opposite from interest rates. If you think about a teeter-totter, when interest rates go up, the value of your bonds will go down. But the teeter-totter also work on the opposite way. Now, the Feds are talking about raising interest rates. Imagine what that will do to the value of bonds. Interest rates go up, now you understand what's going to happen. For that reason, we're going to put bonds on the risk side. We're also going to include in here mutual funds, because actually mutual funds are composed of stocks and bonds, and they also are in the market. There's something else that perhaps you're not aware of or you have ever heard. It's called REITs, Real Estate Investment Trusts. REITs. Real Estate Investment Trust is actually those investments when you go and see those big apartment complexes or big shopping centers. This is how they build them. And then you have the possibility of becoming an investor in one of those. And that's what REIT stands for. There's another feature in here that is pretty unique. It's called ETF, Exchange Trading Funds. You see, when you buy something in the stock market and then you see the market going down, you can call your broker and say, sell. They're not going to be able to pull that sell until the closing of the market after 4 p.m. And a lot of things can happen between 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., right? But with ETF, you can place that phone call at 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock to 11, then immediately they'll go ahead and sell the assets. Therefore, you'll be able to have a little bit more of a cushion when the market drops. And I like that. Lastly, we have here variable annuities. And I'll tell you what, if you crunch your eyes when I said annuity, most probably you had a bad experience with a variable annuity. Now, going back to the concept, variable annuities were created by insurance companies, remember? Well, variable annuities is another type of annuity that is invested mostly and quite aggressively in the market. So when the market goes up, the funds will go up. But when the market drops, the funds will also go down. But something with annuities is that they always compromise to give you back your principal, which is nice. But when you invest your money, you want to at least get something back out of it, especially if you're planning for retirement, right? So for that reason, variable annuities are on the risk side, and they have a lot of fees included with them. Now, let's move forward and talk about the hybrid. Back in the 1990s, the market was doing great. It was going up, 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 up. People were making money. Literally, you can just close your eyes and pick stocks and you'll be making a bank. Well, banks were hurting because people were not putting money in the bank. Why would you do that to get 1-2% when you were making 21 in the market? So banks actually work this way. When you give your money to a bank, they go ahead and get that money, they invest it into maybe mortgages, auto loans, they get that extra markup, and then of course they're able to turn back around and give you your interest. But they make money out of your own money. Well, back then in the early 90s, banks were not making the amount of loans given to them so they can make extra money. So they were coming out with ideas of how for them to survive. And they come out with what is called linked CDs. These are special CDs that are linked to the S&P 500. So the interest is linked to this index, and they were able to give you a little bit more than just a simple CD. So instead of just getting you like a 2%, now they're giving you a little bit more, maybe like a 4 or 5, depending on how the index perform. They're not giving you all of the growth of the index. That's how they make money, right? They keep a portion of that index, but they're giving you something better than just a simple CD. So now let's move forward to what happened when insurance companies take wind of what the banks were doing. And they created something that is called index annuities. Index annuities are mimicking kind of what the market CDs are doing. They're linking the growth to an index, not just the S&P 500, any index. So let's put it here, index annuities. So they're linking this growth to an index. And let me pause for a second and explain to you what is an index. An index, perhaps you turn on the TV and then you see the market watch and you see all those little lines on the bottom. It's like the names of different companies. Actually, those are indices. You're gonna see the Dow Jones, the PIMCO, the Barclay, all of those, like the S&P 500 is an index of 500 biggest companies in the United States. So these indices are actually serving this purpose of growth. So what the insurance companies created with the index annuity is that the growth is linked to this index but not in it. So they're giving you the growth of the market, but when the market drops, you stay put. They call it the power of zero. You don't go down with the market. You're keeping your gains and you're keeping your principal. Market goes up, you go up. Market drops, you stay put. Pretty neat concept, isn't it? But for competitive reasons, insurance companies do something a little bit more in order to, again, gain more people. And that's when they created riders. So riders is like an add-on, an addition to a contract. Just think for a moment about the last time you bought your car. Your car comes like, with different things that you wanted, bells and whistles, but perhaps you wanted a little bit more. Maybe you wanted heater seats. That's an add-on. But in the insurance annuity world, that's called a rider and an addition to it. And this rider has a very unique wording in it. It says that the longer that you leave your money in this index annuity, the more money you're gonna get later on. Kind of like your Social Security, the longer you leave your money there, the more money you're gonna get back. Same thing with a pension. That's exactly the same concept. The longer you leave your money there, they're going to be in the hook to keep sending you checks for the rest of your life that you can never outlive. Now, this is pretty important. Let me repeat this back to you. These riders are going to give you the opportunity to have income for the rest of your life that you can never outlive. And it's not just something that anyone said so. It's in that tiny little fine print of those riders. Now, this is going to give you sustainable, dependable income. And that's a key word, income. Income that you're going to be able to go ahead and utilize for your lifestyle. So these riders are really important and something that we should be looking into. So when you step back, now you're going to understand the tools that are for safety. And we do understand that with safety means not a whole lot of growth, minimum growth, but a little bit more of like comfort zone. So not that much growth. But with the risk side, possible growth, right? But with risk. And then these hybrid ones have a little bit of both worlds. They have a combination of safety with the possibility of growth. So now let's put all this together. For emergency funds, we have to bite the bullet, look into CDs and money market accounts, and put some funds in there. Just remember, this is for emergency. Do not keep them underneath your mattress. For growth, some well-managed ETF. Remember I was telling you about those stop losses? It's pretty neat. And also some good, well-managed mutual funds for that growth. Sometimes I call this top of the pyramid Vegas money. Why do I call it Vegas money? Because if the market drops, you're not going to be crying over this money. That's why it's only the tip of the pyramid. Remember that. The bottom of the pyramid, this is our foundation, income. We want this income to be what? Sustainable, dependable income. We owe ourselves to look more into these ones. They're making a killer. I mean, they really are providing some of the things that we're looking for. Now, people will ask me, Andrea, where would you put these Bitcoins? My kids, my grandkids are talking about Bitcoins. Where would they go? What would you think? Where would they go? Are they pretty stable, or do they go up and down with the market? But a year and a half ago, before the pandemic, Bitcoins were doing great, right? But suddenly, less than a month ago or so, market drop with Bitcoins. They're like really, really low. So that gives you an idea of where they need to go. Are they here on safety, or are they here on risk? They're here on risk, okay? Now, what about a pension? Where would you put a pension? You think a pension would go on income, on the emergency, or the growth? Well, income is a reliable, sustainable amount of money that you're receiving, right? If you're lucky to have one. So income, a pension will go here. What about, and I'm going to throw this at you because it's something different, it's actually more robust planning. What about an IUL, an Index Universal Life? Yes, an insurance company. Where do you think they will go? Well, there's a little bit of homework for you to research, because IULs have been excellent places to do some tax minimization strategies. So I will actually put them right here. That's a new one. Let's add this to the equation, an IUL. These IULs are doing great things, and that's why we owe it ourselves to look more into it. And not just that, but now you're understanding this big picture, right? That's what I'll tell you, that the name of this program is a shortcut to a retirement. Because now you're understanding things that are really working, things that are at our disposal. You, me, anyone can have access to any of these tools. But you need to start understanding what is the job for each one of them. Now, remember, going back to our module 1, we talked about our why, and we talked about how actually people starts investing in the wrong area, and we need to reverse engineer. So you start with your purpose, with your why, and then you find out the tool that you need for each one of those purposes, and then you go ahead and apply it. Is that now clicking to you? Good. So we're going to continue moving forward in the next session to add on all the subjects, all the things that sometimes are out of sight, out of mind, that needs to be also added to a good retirement planning. So now let's say that you need to repair the roof in your house. Where were you going to get the money from? Well, now you can get a little bit from this growth, a little bit from this income, or maybe even a little bit from the emergency, and take care of that expense. How about that nice vacation that Kathy wants to go into? Remember, we talked about the additional income and then some, and all that extra cash is going to her bank account? Well, she's going to pull from there, and she's going to be able to enjoy that vacation, because from that emergency fund, she has an additional extra fund money. What about a medical condition? That's a big one. I know I'm going to mention more about it on the next module, but also IULs and FIAs, fixed index annuities, have those riders that can give you long-term care. Yeah, crucial. So that will help us fill that gap as well for medical emergencies. So again, there is a nice gamma of tools to be utilized depending on our need. And you know, as a woman, we have different kinds of needs throughout our lifetime. But this is how you build a plan, a foundation that makes sense. So now that you have seen how the pyramid really comes together, there's some other things that we need to consider. Remember that Rosetta assistance? We're going to talk about that on the next module. See you on module number 3.